In this video, I'm going to teach you how to solve the quadratic equations of the form ax squared plus bx is equal to 0 and ax squared plus b is equal to, or c is equal to 0. And we are going to start a new chapter solving quadratic equation in this video. Okay, the quadratic equation in the form ax squared plus bx plus c is equal to 0. Here it is written. When it's equal to 0, it means that this is the quadratic equation. And here a, b, c are their real numbers. X is our variable, and it's a second degree. Also, it is called second degree equation. And here especially it's written a cannot be equal to 0. B and c might be 0, but a cannot be equal to 0. If it is equal to 0, it is not quadratic equation actually. So for the quadratic equation, one of the most important rules, a, the first value, which is the coefficient of x squared, cannot be equal to 0. The others may be 0. 0 times x, 0, it can be. But a cannot be equal to 0. And when it is written ax squared plus bx plus c, it's equal to 0, this is called standard form. And it's called, also here it is written, second degree equation. Here, these are the forms x squared plus 3x minus 5 is equal to 0, or 2x squared minus x minus 1 is equal to 0. Root 2x squared minus 1 over 2x plus 3 is equal to 0. These are all the quadratic equations, where here the a for this one, it's equal to, a is equal to 1, and b is equal to 3, and c is equal to minus 1. Of course, you're going to ask this question, where is the value 1 here? You know that one, if we are looking for coefficient and if it is not written in front of the variable, we know that there is a 1 there, or if we are factorizing, we know that there is 1 in front of the variable, so invisible coefficient actually it is here. There is no coefficient again, and I'm going to write here 1. And here we have all coefficients, sorry. Then for the second one, the value is a is equal to 2, b is equal to minus 1, and c is equal to minus 1. It's going to be. And if they are not equal to 0, it can be sometimes it's equal to 0. Let's say x squared plus 2x is also quadratic equation. Is equal to 0 is also quadratic equation, where a is equal to 1, b is equal to 2, and c is equal to 0. It's going to be. Okay. Then here also it's given that one. For the 3x squared plus 5x minus 9, a is equal to 3, b is equal to 5, and c is equal to minus 9. Also the form here, 3x squared minus x plus 1, it is not in standard form, but 3x squared minus x plus 1 when it's equal to 0. This is in standard form, and we are understanding a is equal to 3, b is equal to minus 1, which is invisible and it's not written, and the c value is equal to 1, invisible coefficient, I mean. Then root 2x squared plus 5x plus, we don't have any c number here, it means that c is equal to 0. So root 2 is the coefficient of x squared, so it's equal to a, and 5x is equal to the second term 5 times x, so the coefficient of x is equal to 5, going to be. Here minus x squared plus 1 over 2, minus 1 is the coefficient of x squared, so it is the a value, and 1 over 2 is the constant term here. That's why here the c value is equal to 1 over 2, but there is no b, there is no coefficient of x. That's why we are going to accept it's equal to 0. And here we are going to try to understand the following functions are quadratic or not. And we are going to try to understand the quadratic or not by the power, and if a is equal to 0 or not. Here, as you see, x squared plus 1, this is quadratic equation. Yes, it's quadratic equation, because the power is second degree, and this is quadratic equation, and the other powers, they are not negative. And here this is also quadratic equation, The third one is also quadratic equation, but not in standard form. This is also quadratic equation, like 2x squared minus 3x minus 5 is equal to 0. Here, the x squared minus 2x, 2x to the power of minus 1 plus 3 is not quadratic equation, because we have negative power here. Minus 1 is element of, it's the element of minus 1 is the element of negative numbers. Negative is element of z minus. So if it is negative, it cannot be quadratic. So not quadratic. So not quadratic. Not quadratic, it's going to be. Okay, the third one, actually the fifth one, sorry. We are going to one by one, we are going to multiply, and we are going to try to understand it's quadratic or not. X times x is equal to x squared, x times plus 2 it's equal to 2x, minus 1 times x is equal to minus x, minus 1 times plus 2 is equal to 2, it's going to be equal to 0. And here we are going to may do only operation between 2x and minus x, because they are same type of variables. So x squared minus x squared plus x plus 2 is our quadratic equation, and it shows that this is quadratic equation. Here the last one, when we factorize this one here, 2 then minus 2, if we multiply, it's equal to x times x squared, which is x to the power of 3, and minus 2x squared. So you see the power is greater than minus 2x squared is equal to 0. So the power is greater than 2. That's why this cannot be not quadratic equation. Okay, now how to solve the quadratic equations? We are going to try to understand that one. The form is ax squared. Ax squared form, it's the easiest one, because the x value is equal to 1. If ax squared is equal to 0, it means that a is x1 and 2 it's equal to 0. I'm going to explain later why x1 and x2 is equal to 0. But for the quadratic equation, we have two different solutions. We have two solutions. Always we have two solutions, and these two solutions, they are equal to each other, 0 here, and this is the case. For the linear equations we have one solution. For the quadratic equations we have two solutions. So x1 and x2 is equal to 0. So for this question, if there is no b and bx and c, it means that directly you may write x1 and x2 is going to be equal to 0. Okay, the next one, the form ax squared plus bx is equal to 0. Here I'm going to use ax squared plus bx is equal to 0. Then I'm going to find like this. Here I know that a times x gives us ax squared, and plus b times x gives us bx. And x is the common term for both of them. Then this implies that x times ax plus b is our term, and it's equal to 0. So when we factorize this one, when we factorize like this, when you get the common term out, you are factorizing that one also. When you factorize like this, you can solve the question. And there are two possibilities. If multiplication of two numbers is equal to 0, then one of them it must be equal to 0. X is equal to 0, or x1 is equal to 0, or x plus b is equal to 0. It's going to be. Then the last one, x2, it's going to be equal to minus b over a. We are going to try to understand with the examples better. Here the question is minus 4x squared plus 5x it's going to be, and this is equal to 0. Then here I have minus 4x squared plus 5x, then minus 4x squared has x, and 5x has only 1x. If I get the x parenthesis, this is going to be minus 4x, and if you take the x from the 5x, you will leave only 5, and it will be equal to 0. Then Here it's going to be if multiplication of two numbers is equal to 0, one of them it must be 0. We are going to write like this: x1 is equal to 0 or minus 4x plus 5. It's going to be equal to minus 4x plus 5 is going to be equal to 0. Here, okay, and then we are going to say minus 4x is equal to minus 5, and x is equal to minus 5 over minus 4. x2 is equal to, actually x2 is equal to 5 over 4. It's going to be. So from this solution we are understanding for the quadratic equation we must have two solutions. Sometimes these solutions, like in the previous question, they may be equal to each other. Okay, this term, all the terms, they have the coefficient 1. So this is x times x, and this is x times 1. So if you get is equal to 0, if you get the x terms out, x times x plus 1, it's going to be equal to 0. Then x is equal to 0 or x plus 1 is equal to 0 is our term. So x1 is equal to 0 or x2 is equal to minus 1 is our solution. It's going to be. Okay, this one we will solve in the class. The next one, if the form is ax squared plus c is equal to 0, we are going to solve the questions ax squared plus c is equal to 0. Directly I'm going to solve the questions without giving the exercise. Here, firstly, we should collect the terms without x to the other side, like 3x squared is equal to 27. This 27 goes to the other side. Then 3x squared, actually this 3 goes to the other side and it becomes, x squared is equal to 27 over 9. And x squared will be equal to 27 over 9, going to be equal to, 27 over 3 it's going to be, and the result it's going to be 9. And if x squared is equal to 9, it means that x is equal to plus or minus 3. I told you before, if we have x squared is equal to 9, we have to think for both positive and negative answers. This is very important. This plus and minus sign is very important. You shouldn't forget in the exam. Here, this plus and minus sign, it's very important for us. So it's going to be like this: x squared, x1 is equal to 3, or x2 is equal to minus 3. Going to be. Okay, the second solution is through x squared plus 6x is equal to 0, 2x squared is equal to minus 6, and x squared is equal to minus 6 over 2, and x squared is equal to minus 3. If x squared is equal to minus 3, we don't have a real solution for this case, because square of a number cannot be negative. No real solution for this case, because if the number is negative, because we know that x squared means x times x, so you are multiplying the number by itself. When you multiply two negative number by itself, like minus 3 and minus 3, the answer is 9, or 3 times 3, again it's equal to 9. As you see, always the result is greater than 0. So when the result x squared is equal to a negative number, it means that there is no real solution. We are not going to solve this question and we are going to leave like that. So we need to be careful about this case also. Here we have 7 minus 4x squared is equal to 2. Minus 4x squared, it's going to be equal to 2 minus 7. And then it's going to be equal to minus 4x squared is equal to minus 5. X squared is equal to minus 5 over minus 4. And then x squared is equal to 5 over 4 is going to be. Then if you get the square root of this expression, x squared is equal to plus or minus square root of 5 over 4. It can be Then I can separate the, from the radical expressions. Pardon, this is x, it's going to be. This is going to be x. X is equal to plus or minus root 5 over 4, or x is equal to minus root 5 over plus minus root 5 over root 4. Then x is equal to plus minus root 5 over 2. It's going to be. This means that here we can write like this also. x1 is equal to root 5 over 4, root 5 over 2, or x2 is equal to minus root 5 over 2 is going to be. So there are two solutions for the quadratic equations.